Welcome to the Author Helpers You Should Be Writing with your hosts, John P. Logston and Ben Zackheim.
Welcome to episode 15 of,
Hi!
of the Author Helpers You Should Be Writing. We have a few things we're going to be talking about tonight. Ben is going to be discussing, do we already know what it takes to be successful?
Is that what I wrote?
So is that not what we're doing? Should I start this over?
Well, this is good, but it sounds like it's just, like a little new agey. But maybe I'll try to rephrase it when we actually talk about it. Okay, go ahead. What are you talking about?
Well, now I have to rephrase mine. It was going to be working with a narrator, but now I guess it'll have to be like laboring daily with someone who speaks words from a book.
Narrative labor.
There you go.
All right.
All right, and then of course discussing another couple of things at the beginning here, just tidbits of info. So what you been up to this week?
This week I signed up for a couple. I think I mentioned last time that I signed up for. I don't remember if I did or not. A couple of Facebook seminars.
So you don't remember if you signed up for them, or you don't remember?
No, I don't remember if we discussed it. I've signed up for a couple of new ones anyway. So
okay.
The first one is. Best practices for maximizing success with dynamic ads. That's going to be on June 9th. And we should definitely, let's make a note. We should include these in the notes and on YouTube. And the other one that I'm looking forward to, these are seminars run by Facebook, and they're free. The other one is local awareness ads. The right place at the right time. And I was actually talking to an author, a fellow author today, local author, who he knows of somebody who did a whole bunch of local ads where he really pinpointed the libraries and the schools and local celebrities like local DJs and his followers, and did really well with a book that wasn't necessarily wasn't about. I don't think it was about anything local. But the fact that, I don't know, you can take this, some people might think it's a little bit smarmy, but I kind of like it. So he basically covered his entire local area using Facebook ads with his book, which I don't remember the topic, and he became, he could get in a conversation with people at a, in a bookstore or at a library or down on the street, and they would go, "Oh, I saw your book on Facebook," and so he actually became a celebrity. There was actually a certain amount of celebrity to it. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
Yeah. So
this is true. Across the street, right across the street here, it's 20 steps.
Yep.
A neighbor of mine is one of the biggest fans of mine. Who knew?
That's crazy.
Yeah, reads all my books.
Everything. But wait, what came first? Him reading your books or him knowing you?
No, yeah, he read Platoon F.
And then he met you?
He was in the military, yeah.
Get out.
Kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that must have made your year.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's more like it.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you're arriving.
Oh, wait, maybe
Slowly.
I gave him one of the books first. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, it's nice to live in the dream world for a minute. I wouldn't doubt it, man. Come on, got thousands of people on your newsletter. The other thing is there's a readathon 2016 coming up, May 21st. I think the week of May 21st. It's the Library Association in partnership with Penguin. That kind of thing. But it's a fundraising effort to raise awareness of literacy, and I'm gonna participate. It's an annual thing, so I'm gonna participate a little bit this year and kind of get familiar with it, see how it works, because it looks like there's a fundraising aspect to it, and there's a promotional aspect to it, there's a networking aspect to it, and so the hashtag is let me just make sure I got this right. Yeah. Readathon 2016, 2016. I'm going to just be doing some tweets with that and see what kind of traction I get, see how it works. So it's kind of what I've had my eye on this week. How about you?
Oh boy, I could probably take up a whole show just with it. But well, obviously working on the author helper stuff. I'm basically done. So I mean, I think that
All right.
we're just tying up a couple of loose ends,
Let's
and
do it.
then we can launch this puppy and let people get at it. That'll be great. So I would look for that soon. I hope, assuming nothing, we trip up on anything. The other thing is I actually started the process of culling my list again,
Oh boy.
and it's actually been going really well.
Okay.
I don't have too many details right now. I'll talk about it, I guess, a little bit more next week about what I did, how I did it, and so on. But
And why
uh,
you're doing it again?
yeah,
You can
yeah,
explain.
yeah, I'll do all that.
Why would you call? Yeah.
Yeah, well, because you don't have participation, there's no point in having a bunch of people on a list. If it's just for vanity, you're wasting your money. So,
And it's costing you money. Yeah.
yeah, sure. And it's also, false bravado just for yourself to see that many people, but you're not getting that much response. So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, I am having a decent 30% active retention rate,
Wow.
which I'm really impressed by because
Wow.
I didn't expect it to be that high. So I'm pretty impressed with that. But now I just got to get the open rate up. So because there's only been 30 people that opened it. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh,
No, it's been doing pretty well. But anyhow, so I'll talk a little bit about that next week about how I did it and so on. I just kind of want to get a little bit more stats in before bringing that in. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is something called brain.fm. And this was actually posted on Self-Publishing Formula site, and I would probably be remiss of me not to mention the name of the person, so I will do that in just a second. But anyway, the point is that the Brain FM system, it's Michelle Lowry, by the way. So I don't know if you watch Michelle, but if so, shout out to you. This is pretty cool. Essentially, what it is a system where you put on headphones and it plays music and different stuff, and it does it through what's called entrainment, which basically helps you to focus better. It helps
oh
you
yeah.
you can sleep better, you can
Yep.
meditate, all this kind of stuff. Now,
Yep.
I used to do this with a program called Neuroprofessional,
Mm.
which is one of the things that actually helped me get really fast at doing a bunch of stuff. It helped me out a lot, actually. But
Mm.
there's a lot to that program, so you really got to work at it and stuff like that. This one, you kind of just plug and play.
Mm.
And the reason why I'm giving a shout out is because I had actually signed up for this probably about a year ago, and they are now moving into beta. And if you go there, you will get basically you're looking at $149 a lifetime, or you can do like this other stuff, like monthly or whatever. But if you go there, and you listen to a couple of the samples and all that kind of stuff, and then you sign up, and you can click on the upgrade button, and you can get it for $25 lifetime
Mm.
if you rock it. I don't know when that's going to go away. I don't have any idea, and I think that there might even be basically it's HTTPS. Well, it's just brain.fm/hacker news is what you have to
Okay.
do. But we can put that in the thing. But anyway, the point is that if you go there and you fill it out, and then you listen to stuff. When you try to listen again, it'll bring a pop-up window. You then get the opportunity to sign up. When you sign up, then you can click the upgrade. When you click the upgrade, instead of $149 for a lifetime, it's $24.95 or something like that for a lifetime. So it's a huge savings. And actually was trying it out again today, and I was flying. It just makes such a big difference. It allows you to just pay attention. So I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, I mean, just in case, just to make super clear, you're advising this as a writing tool, as something that really helps you dive in, stay focused on the work that you're doing without getting distracted. And I can second that because I think the only the most productive times I have ever had as a writer were listening to. I have an iPhone app, and I think it's by Tesla Software. It's like 3-in-1 brainwave app or something like that, and it's amazing. You set it to focus, and then you have a little like a kind of a musical selection of like 25, 30 new agey sounding things, a little bit like techno and stuff, and then that little bit beat in the background. There's a little like, and it's not annoying. I mean, you can turn it down if it is, but you'll still be hearing it whether you know it or not. And it does. I don't know what it does. Syncs
It's
up your
called
brain waves.
brainwave. It's
Yeah.
brainwave entrainment, and what it does is it
Yeah.
gets your brain waves to start moving at the frequency that the sound is happening, because the brain
Yeah.
actually starts to mimic whatever is there.
Yeah.
And
But
that's,
it takes
I'm not a
distractions.
scientist, but
Yeah. It takes distractions
it
away.
totally does,
Yeah.
and it
It's
helps
amazing.
obviously having headphones on,
Yeah.
but yeah, doing that, and they put up a bunch of warnings and all that, but it's nothing like taking, I don't know,
Caesars.
Baralto or whatever the
Yeah.
hell it is.
Or whiskey.
Yeah. So anyway, something to check out. It may
Yeah.
work for you, it may not work for you, but they do give you 7 sample trials. I mean, so you
So
can
just
actually
use
listen.
those.
Yeah,
Don't
you
even
can.
don't
Yeah,
even buy anything.
yeah. Just write
Just
your book in 7, listening. But anyway, if you do that, you can at least see, does this work for me or does it not work for me,
mhm.
and kind of get a feel for it. But I love them. I think they work
Yeah.
great. So, and
Cool.
somebody, like I said, Michelle Lowry, how put that up there on Self-Publishing Formula's site.
That's
So,
it's
hey,
her product.
no, 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 but it was her shout out, so I'm just giving her a shout
Oh, I
out
see.
back.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, she shared that, so I'm just saying
Gotcha.
it.
Gotcha.
So that was pretty cool. Anyway, and then other than that, let's see. I've got Queen Arthur, the second book. I finished it and delivered it over to Chris, so he's going to be checking it out. The cover art is due at the end of this week. Also, I'm going to be handing it off to my lunch team at the end of this week, or at
Mhm.
least Saturday or so, and so they can start checking it out. And currently, I'm looking at the end of the week of June for shipping date
Oh,
at this
cool.
point. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Is
that'll
this a
be another one.
trilogy? Planned trilogy?
It is, and this is the second one. So it's Nights in the Future, where they actually come to present time,
Hmm.
and then Nights in the Past, they will go back to the Roman era. So that should be
Wow.
fun. Yeah,
Okay.
and then finally yeah.
Sounds
So
like a.
anyway, and that'll be it. That'll be it for the Queen Arthur series.
All right.
So it'd be
We'll
nice to
see.
wrap
That's
one up.
that's really up to the audience, not up to you.
Well, yeah, totally, totally. I mean, if they were just like, oh,
I'm
you got to
kidding.
write more of these, they're like,
Yeah, I know.
all right. No, I just think it's almost it's kind of tough because it's Queen Arthur. It's like you can only use that particular thing so many
Yeah.
times, and
Yeah.
it starts kind of.
It's
If we
a.
hadn't done the cross dressing thing, well, I mean, Chris does that all the time, but I just mean if we hadn't used that as the idea, he
Yeah.
doesn't watch the show. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Then we probably could have gotten a lot more out of it because it would have just been, kind of a funny Monty Python King
Yeah.
Arthur type thing, but
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like that hasn't been done before. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that's
Cool,
it for
man.
me. So do you want to go first? You want me to go first? What do you want to do?
You can go first. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're going to be talking. I'm going to be talking about working with a narrator. Basically, there's a few things that kind of go along with this from my personal experience. So just so everybody knows, I've released my fifth book, sorry.
You slowed
Um,
down. That was like slow motion, man.
yeah, four.
Fourth.
four.
Fourth.
So fifth book, two of them were done by another narrator. Three of them were done by me, and then there's another one right now in production. It's already been read by the narrator, but is in production right now, and so on. And basically, it was kind of an evolving relationship with it. But I've talked to a few other authors who, I've just said, what have you had to go through and so on. Now, I've been pretty lucky. The narrator I'm working with is a guy named Just Sargent, and I'm doing my books through Living Audio CIC, and he is very easy to get along with. And if there's something that I don't like, he's just like, oh, I'll redo it. It's no problem. But
Hmm.
supposedly that can be somewhat problematic. So before, I guess what I want to bring up here is this: is there's a few things to think about when you're doing this. Number one, this is your book, right? This is not somebody else's book. This is your book. So even if the narrator says, this is this, you have to be happy with it because it's your stamp. It's just like your same thing as the concept of an editor. The editor tells
Mhm.
you, oh, you shouldn't spell, whatever this way, and so on and so forth. Well, if that's how your character says it and you want it spelled that way, then it's your decision to spell it that way. Yeah, there could be
Yeah.
some you know backlash from that, but hey, it's your book, so ultimately you have to do what's right for your book. But the same kind of concept goes with the narrator. However, that said, I'm going to caveat that with rely on the expertise of the people that you're hiring. So in other
How do
words,
you, yeah, how do
yeah,
those
how do
two
you marry those
reconcile?
two things? So here's how you marry those two things. You basically can listen to what this person has done before, and you kind of get a feel for when you actually, this was brought to my attention by these guys. They basically said, look, some of these characters, we can be very detailed with what you want, or you can just let us go with it and listen to it. And what you find out is after probably an hour of listening to it, because these books are usually, 6 hours long and so on, you start going, yeah, that is kind of how I would see the character. But a person is never going to be able to represent perfectly what you want,
Yeah.
because you hear it in your head a certain way, and there's only so much you can do. I'm sorry, I got something in my eye here. But anyway, and it moved to the other eye. Anyway, so now I'm just gonna be like this the whole.
I
Sorry.
don't think there's actually anything there.
So anyway, the point is that you have to give a little creative freedom to the other person. Concept
Sort of.
also with an
Then it's just
artist.
totally
And
boring for them, and they don't feel
well,
involved, engaged.
it
And you have
yeah,
to do that.
you
They're
have to let them be involved. But what I'm saying is
human.
this: it doesn't mean just give everything away,
No, of course not. Yeah.
but treat it like a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Basically, say, look, let's work together to try to find out how to do this, because you are right. It is important, and that's going to bring me to my second point.
Hmm.
But sticking on the first point, it's your book, you have to own it, but at the same time you have to realize that this person does this for a living. They've
Hmm.
probably done a lot more of these books, and so
Hmm.
they have an idea of what works and what doesn't work.
Yep.
So
Yep.
sometimes you have to go, okay, it's painful, but fine, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
you also can do this with the narrator. You could say, look, I'm cool with listening to you on what you're saying on this, but you also have to realize that if you bring this back to me and I just can't stand it, we're going to have to change it.
Hmm.
So you have to be upfront about those things. You
Yeah.
have to make sure that the person that you're working with is willing to do that if it comes
Yeah.
down to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing you can do, and one of the things that I do, is I get on a Skype call with Just, and I basically say, okay, let's go over the characters. And basically what he does is he says, okay, he read the whole book. That's one thing. If you have a narrator come to you and they haven't even read your book,
Yeah. That's a problem.
yeah. Now, I mean, if you've just given them a sample and that's all they have to work with, that's one thing. But it's much better if you can have somebody who actually has read your work and likes your work. So they're not
Yep.
just doing it for $5, but they're doing it because they actually enjoy what they're doing.
That's how much you pay them, $5.
Not that much,
Yeah.
but anyway. So yeah, so I get on the call with Just, and I basically say, hey, let's go over the characters. So he has a spreadsheet listed out of characters, and he says, here's what I think they sound like, based on my reading of it,
Okay, that's
which is
cool.
also interesting because he's
Yeah. Yeah.
read them. So I
Yeah.
want to hear, what do you
Yeah.
think? What are the
Yeah.
voices you're hearing?
Has it
And
been, it's been better than you thought sometimes, I would imagine.
I would say he hits at about 90%, sometimes 95%. I mean, he
But is that
uh,
when you say hits it, does that mean he's doing exactly what you wanted him to, or did he do something creative and weird and different that you never even thought of that
that's happened a
totally
few
worked?
times.
Okay, that's cool.
But most of the time, no. What he does, I hear.
Oh, okay.
And so it's either a
That's good.
testament of I'm writing in such a way that I'm actually
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
that voice, or we both are weird. It's one or
yeah,
the
yeah.
other.
There's probably a
I'm going
little
to go
bit
with the
of
second
both.
one. Yeah, I'm going
A
to go with
little
the
bit
second
of
one.
both.
So anyway, so getting on the Skype call with the person, I personally prefer Skype because, that way you can kind of
Pseudo make eye
sometimes
contact.
sometimes doing this, will show like, no, I need that. Will
Oh,
show
I see.
the
Yeah, yeah.
character and everything else that you're trying to get across. Plus, like you said before, it builds a little bit of excitement in the characters and everything that you're trying to do. And
Yeah.
that brings me to the third point. You don't want somebody who's just going to sit there and read. You
Mm-hmm.
want somebody who's going to act your characters out.
Yeah.
And when when I heard Just originally do a Quest of Undoing sample, that's what happened, and that's what made me go, "Oh wow, this is just fantastic."
Yeah.
And so when I heard that, it's like you not only brought the characters, but you brought the world to life. It was so cool,
Mm.
and that's point four.
Is
If
it?
it, well,
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's point
Gotcha.
three.
Yeah.
Brings us to point
24.
four. Point
Gotcha.
four is if you hear somebody read your book and that makes you go, wow, that's the person you want to work with. Bottom
Mm.
line. If you're listening to my book and you're going, oh, it's okay, I guess, good enough.
Mm.
It's not the person you want to work with. And then there's going to be some people who are much better for specific types of books and not so much for other types of books.
Mm.
So, don't just jump at the first opportunity that comes necessarily, unless that one happens to land. I got lucky. This one hit and it was
Yeah.
like perfect. And
Yeah.
it's been a
Yeah.
fantastic, relationship
Mm.
with the whole production process.
Wow.
So that's been great.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and then make sure that the person is willing to redo stuff if it's necessary. And then the only other thing I would say is,
0.5.
yeah, point five. The only other thing I would really bring, unless you have any questions, obviously, is make sure that it's not just narration that is done professionally, but also audio production.
God,
Because you can
don't get
sound
don't get me
fantastic.
into that.
Yeah, you can sound fantastic as far
Uh,
as your characterizations and everything else, but if the quality of the audio is crap,
yeah.
people are going to give you bad reviews simply because of that.
Hmm.
So it's this the best way to find that out. Listen to what they've done before, and
Hmm.
if you can listen to what the person has done before, so you're going to have people who say, "Yeah, I want to read this. Yeah, I want to read this," because everybody's trying to make money, so they're going to want to read
Sure.
your stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So they'll do these things. But if you step back and you go, "Okay, sure, you can go ahead and read a sample." But while you're doing that, let me go listen to other things you've done. And so you kind of listen to the 5-minute samples of each one. Now, that's good. Usually the best part is the 5-minute sample you hear on Audible from these folks, but there you go, kind of doing that. So trying to find those people that fit not just your style, but also kind of make you go, oh man, I found myself in 5 minutes immersed by what this person did, and it sounded good. If they
Hmm.
just send you, if they send you something that says this isn't really, production quality or anything else, it's just thrown together, but I can do production. That's fine. That's okay. I mean, you don't want the person to take 3 hours to build you a 5-minute sample so you can see whether you like them or not. But because that could be indicative of it's going to take them 8 months, 9 months to do your book. You don't want that either.
Yeah.
But where you can hear their final is look, what else have they done? And so that's where you listen to it. And if you're listening to it and you're going, this just doesn't sound very good, then you don't want to do that.
Hmm.
So just be very careful. Remember, this is your baby.
Yeah.
So
So, a couple of questions. First of
yeah,
all, are they doing the post pro also? Is that what you're saying?
living
That they
audio is, yeah.
they do. Okay, so they're
Typically,
doing the.
typically narrators do it this way. Narrator, now I won't say typically. Many narrators do it this
Hmm.
way,
Hmm.
where they do the audio and the production. Okay,
Okay.
and what a lot of them do is they use a basic suite of tools, like a product called Isotope. They use a specific suite of tools where they would just, they'll read it all out, they'll do the whole thing, and then they'll just run it through these processors,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good enough. And
Hmm.
then there you go.
Hmm.
Then there's others who really painstakingly take their time to do this stuff. Then you've got the people in the middle, and then you've got people like what I'm working with, where Just is just a narrator. He does not do audio production. Living Audio, who works with Just, does all of the audio production, and
That's what I
they
thought.
do it with me
That's yeah.
too.
That's what
So
I
when I
thought. That's why
yeah
I was like, wait. So it sounded like you were saying he did the audio as well.
no.
But, yeah.
So
Okay.
he does that, and actually I do my own narration for Platoon F, and
Hmm.
Living Audio does that as well. And as a matter of fact,
Oh.
I was on a call with Matt from Living Audio tonight for about an hour and a half, and we were setting up my sound again because installing Windows 10.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Oh.
anyway, but I'm just gonna get a new audio unit
Yeah.
because it's been driving me crazy, and I don't want to use foul language right now. So
Yes, not no. Second thing is, it's funny that everything you were just saying there. I went to NYU film school, and all of those points are director class points. You're talking about directing a production. I mean,
well,
they're talking about getting an actor in, working with the actor, listening to the actor, not giving the actor, everything, but working in having a partnership, understanding you're in authority, you're the one who has the final word. It's your vision that has to meet your vision. If it doesn't, you're gonna have to redo it. So it's funny that you've gone through this natural process of learning how to do narration, book narration with somebody, and you've naturally taken over the role of what I learned, in film school is what a director does. So, yeah, it sounds natural. It sounds like it's the right pecking order, the right kind of perspective on how to get it done. I'll be sure to listen to your advice
no,
one day. One
it's
day.
one day. No, it's actually really
Something.
cool. And the other thing, to note is that they were right.
Mm.
That there were a couple of characters that I wasn't quite sure about, and I just said, well, let me listen to them. They said, look, if you want us to redo it, we'll redo it. And I was like, okay, well, let me listen to it. And as I went on, that character becomes the character in your head. And
Hmm.
so it's one of those things. I used to say
Yeah.
this all the time with the guys I used to be in a band with, is that we played a particular song so many times, and then they would say, "Why don't we change to do this?" And when you start, you're going, "It just doesn't right. It
Yeah,
doesn't sound,"
yeah,
because you've gotten it in your head. It's like when you hear a remake. A lot of times you hear the remake, that's not the right song.
yeah.
Yeah, because you
Exactly.
hear it in such a way that it's become
Yeah,
ingrained,
yeah,
and after a while, undoing it, there's very
yeah.
few people who can outdo the original, and that's kind of, even if the original's not that great, it's very few people who can outdo it. Hall and Oates can outdo it usually, but uh, but yeah. Anyway, so just you might need to give it a little time, but just listen to other works by those people and see what they've done.
Yeah, it's good tips.
Cool. Thanks, man. So let's move on then.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we
I,
already know what it takes to be successful, Ben?
Bye. It sounds so awful. It's like, how did I really write those words? Well, but I mean, it's accurate, right? But the way I phrased it is far too salesy. But I was having this conversation today with with a friend of mine, and he's an author. He's a published author. He works with various publishers. He's thought about self-publishing, but um, we're all in the same boat, published or self-published. We still need to promote our own stuff. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to put ourselves first and consider ourselves a business and take ourselves very seriously. What tends to happen, especially in like what we're doing right here with the podcast and with the Author Helper, is we're two people who have our own experiences, and we share those experiences in hopes of sharing knowledge, giving people a couple of ideas, seeing that they're not alone out there. But I got to thinking when I was talking to my friend today, Brian. I kind of cut through all the crap, and I realized, like, you know what? I really actually know exactly what I need to do to succeed. Like, I have it in my head, and I'm not special. This is not me saying I know what you don't. I know exactly what I need to do. I know what I need to do creatively. I know what I need to do business wise. I know what I need to do marketing wise. I know all of that. It's in here, and it's like, it's so messed up. It gets so muddied by other people's advice, by second guessing myself, by, any number of, life stuff just happens, right? So I think it's a matter of trying to figure out what is that voice. If you think I'm onto something, if anything I'm saying resonates on any level, sit down and think about, well, what is that? Is it because for me, I literally know that if I were to put books in the back of my car and have them available at all times, and everywhere I went, I was ready to pull it out, so to speak, and sell it. If I that is because I know my community, I know this area better and better. I've lived here for 5 years now. I'm getting a really good sense. Tons of readers, tons of aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas, and I sell books that their kids in their lives would enjoy, and in some cases they would enjoy. Like, I'll say, yeah, I wrote The Camelot Kids. It's a really cool book. I'd love to read it. Okay, well, and I know that because so many people also work in education in this area, that if I got it in their hands, eventually it's going to make it into other hands. It's a very viral community when it comes to the creative stuff. Not all of us live there. I'm not saying this is your answer. This isn't necessarily something for you, but in my head, I know this is the solution. I know this is like a big boost for my career as a writer. And I've written really good books. I'm very proud of my books. I know exactly where they belong. I know exactly, I can compare them to anything confidently and be fine with it going out into the wild, into libraries and schools. So I already know, but what is it that's kept me back from that? I don't know. But I sensed that, and Brian agreed. He was like, you know what? There are a number of things I know I could do to be successful, and I'm not doing them. And so we got to talking about how isn't that interesting that sometimes the answers are right in front of your face. They're not on a podcast. They're not even in talking with a trusted friend. They're in there. They're bouncing around, and they're looking for you to calm down for a second, put all the BS aside, and say, you know what? I am going to go try to get this into that library, or I am going to try to get it into that bookstore, or I am going to have a reading, or I am going to perform the first 2 chapters as a play at the theater my cousin owns. I mean, this is the kind of little stuff that you can, if you really think about it, I think it can become pretty clear. So,
I think I know the answer to the problem, though, and no joking, just all, being serious here, and that
you
is,
serious?
I know it's weird, right?
Yeah.
But it's fear, is what it
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah. It
It comes
definitely.
down to fear.
Yeah.
It could be fear of success. It could be fear of
Yeah.
failure. It could be fear of putting yourself out there.
Hmm.
It's for example,
Fear of loss.
it
Fear
took
of
you.
loss. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, fear of humiliation. I mean,
Yeah.
fear
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
general, right?
Fear.
I
Yeah.
mean, it took you a year to get me to do this podcast because I didn't want to put myself out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And then there's, for example, I started doing ads again today
Hmm.
because I wanted to, push it. And so far, it's doing really well. Um, but I even did an Amazon ad, which I've never done
Oh yeah,
before.
you mentioned
But
that.
yeah,
We're
so I'm
gonna have to
trying that out as well. Yep.
talk about that next week.
Yep. And since we're shouting out people, shout out to Nicholas Rosas for that. I'll put a link to his um, blog on there for that. And anyway, yeah, I saw his ad, and I was thinking about it anyway. And I saw something from KDP about advertising. I was going to do it, and then I saw his
Yeah.
post, and it was just kind of like stars aligned. And I just said,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
But here's what happens with me
Hmm.
personally. I I'm with you. Okay,
Hmm.
I know what I need to do to be
Yep.
successful. I added 13,000 people in record time.
Yeah.
I know what I have to do, but what comes with doing it
Hmm.
is a lot of work, a
Yep.
lot of challenge, and a lot of putting yourself out there, and a lot of times getting responses back that you may not like to see from
Yeah.
people giving
Yeah.
you hate mail or, or,
Yeah.
or all these kind of things. It's very difficult because basically what you're saying is I'm somebody who likes to work from home. I don't want to be around
Yeah.
tons and tons of people. And yet at the same time,
Yeah.
I want to be successful. And
Yeah.
therefore,
Yeah.
I have to go like this. Hi, everyone. It's me.
Ah. Yeah.
And then everybody, and it's funny. It's when I'm around a bunch of people,
Yeah.
I usually can do just fine. I'm the life of the party. Hey, how's it
Yeah.
going? How's it going? The whole deal,
Yeah.
right? I can do all that. I can stand up in front of people and 20,000 people and talk, right?
Mm.
I would probably be, having soiled
Pooping.
underpants, but
Yes.
I could
Pooping.
do it.
But yeah.
But 5 minutes into it,
Yeah.
I don't want to get off the stage,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the next week I'm asleep because I'm exhausted from the
Yeah.
fact that I had to have that interaction.
Yeah.
So for me, if we always talk about these things about are you going to do this, are you going to do that, and everything else. I over prepare
Mm.
because I am constantly worried that I'm going to screw up, or I have to set it up in such a way that nobody can come back and say anything's wrong.
Mm.
And it's called a perfectionist attitude, right? But
Yeah.
what changed was I was basically trying to be a perfectionist and delivering nothing. And
Mm.
so I just said, okay, that has to stop, right?
Yeah. I remember we talked about this a little bit. Yeah.
But I haven't advertised in, I don't know, 2 months now, something like that.
Really?
And yet I've been doing pretty well without it. But then
Hmm.
I said today, actually, I said, why aren't you
Yeah.
advertising?
Why aren't you? I've wondered that. It's funny. I don't know why I didn't just like ask, but I was
And
kind of
and
like, he
here's
must have a reason why he's not right
Oh,
now.
well, nesting is primary. That's the other thing that we all do is we do nesting, and that
Yeah.
nesting is evil. But basically, oh, I had to redo my covers. Oh,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I had to redo them again. Oh, and
Yeah.
then I had to get this in order, and then I had
So
to put the books over here.
nesting to you means to kind of like dig in and take care of housekeeping and kind of get lost in details and stuff. Is that
Well,
what nesting
put it this
means?
way, I did not need to redo my covers in order to advertise, but I told myself that I did.
Okay.
So in other words, everything must be 100% ready, and once it's 100% ready,
Uh,
then I can
okay.
advertise.
That's
And
yeah, that could
but
be a
but
big
here's the thing.
barrier.
Well, it's true, but here's the thing. What I do to combat that, and I don't know if other listeners might have this problem, but what I do to combat that is this. I say, fine, but here is the level that you're allowed to nest to, and here is
Mm.
your deadline.
Mm.
The day after that deadline, whether you've met your level or not, you're advertising. And I
Mm.
don't let myself off the hook. And it's really hard, but what it does is it says, I will get this done in time to
Mm.
this level. Now, this level, that
Might
also
not
makes
be
might
perfect.
not be here, but
Yeah.
I say to myself, this is, you've got to, and if I say, here's where you got to get, well, okay, but you got this much time to get there. It's just like,
Mhm.
crap, am I going to be able to do
Yeah.
it? So, and so that can happen to you.
Yeah.
But for me, it's all about having as much prepared as possible, getting all of the, T's crossed, the I's dotted, and everything else, doing all of that stuff, and then saying, you have no excuse now, go do it. And I hate it. It's terrifying. Every single time, it's terrifying. And when you sit there and say, hey, go to a bookstore and read. No, it's what comes to mind, right? They're riding around with first off, you're like, I'm going to hand out books to children from my white van. I'm like, I don't think that's going to work out for you, Ben. But anyway, you might not want to do that. But still,
there you go, kid.
Exactly. But still, it really is a lot of fear. And what you have to do to get past that, I did not want to do this last year, but what you have to do to get past that is to do it.
Yeah.
Take the Band-Aid and rip it off.
Yeah. But it is a matter of getting, but the problem I think a lot of people have, at least I have, and I certainly see it with my students, I see it with other author friends of mine, not you as much. You have a pretty clear sense of it, but there's accessing that gathered knowledge and making a decision based on it and having trust in that. Like, again, I think it's nesting in there. Let's use that word in a positive way in my own context. The knowledge of what you need to do to sell your book and to do it in a way that's true to who you are as much as humanly possible in the marketing world is in there. And you have to ask yourself, what is it? And even if it's it might actually not be such an uncomfortable thing. It might be something like, you know what? Okay, I have to talk to my aunt, Vicky, who published a book and she's got an agent, and I've got to make that call. I got to do it. Like it can be a connection like that. It could be something as simple and obvious as that, but you were too afraid to ask, and it doesn't really take that much expenditure to do it, that much time, to do it. Or it could be something like, I need to set up a bookstore in the back of my truck, whatever it is. I do think we have the answers in our head, or at least we have the thing we really think is going to work. And if we just put that down on paper and make a plan around it and make it happen, maybe it won't succeed, but you'll learn a lot, first of all, and odds are it will be a success in some way, because there's something in your own knowledge, your own gut is telling you that if I were to go do this kind of scary thing, it might work.
Exactly. Fear of success is the thing. And if it works, you also might be going, but if it works, that opens up Pandora's box.
It works.
Now I've got to do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
When you were talking, though, I had an idea.
I could see you
were the idea
very
is
animatedly having an idea. I could see the light bulb.
Yeah, well, there's nothing else up there.
Yeah.
That's actually just everything shining on it. It just looks like a
light. It's going through the hair.
Yeah. Hair? You see hair? Anyway, moving on. So a step-by-step system from baby steps up is actually what I wish I had. And I think it's what we're trying to do a lot of with the Author Helper is to do that, but to maybe put it in such an order of, okay, you've got your book idea. Now what?
Yeah. Now what?
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't think people understand the concept of what now what really means.
Oh, yeah.
There are vanity presses out there that charge people $10,000, $15,000 to do what you could do on your own
that drives
for
me
a
crazy.
few $100. And and you're going to learn so much more, and you're going to get so much more out of it over the course of time. But fear keeps you away from doing that. I get that. But I'm just saying, a step-by-step how to get there linearly, so you can, exponentially, so you can kind of go like this and then start, taking bigger steps as you go, but at the same time, you've gotten more comfortable the whole way. And I think that's something that's missing.
It is missing. I think I just want to make sure I'm super clear, because I think that discussion it's similar and it's related, but it would also make a great episode. So we should make a note of that, because I think
it would make more than an episode. It's going to take a lot of blog posts.
Exactly, like several hundred blog posts.
Exactly.
And I actually tried to do something ambitious like that when I was first getting my head around it. I had I think it was over 100 blog post ideas for the steps that I was going through.
Okay.
I was documenting it in a list form.
Yeah.
So maybe we should use that for the Author Helper. But I was just I was so overwhelmed with the amount of work that would take to do it.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. But again, I'm even taking a step like where I'm going with this particular topic, and we can end it after this, but is even a step further back down to the quick. It's like you're not even getting to steps. You're going into the fear. When you go into fear and you're trying to access that thought, like what is it that I'm afraid of? What idea do I keep on pushing down because I'm afraid of it? That isn't, I don't think any step process, I don't think any drug, I don't think any therapist, I don't think anybody can help that come out. It's really a matter, and that's step zero. Like, as far as marketing the book is concerned, if you can figure out what those ideas are early and be honest with yourself, you have the makings of a marketing plan, right? Because if you put those ideas down on paper, and they're not my ideas. They're not John's ideas. They're not, Sean Platt's ideas. They're not, Wendig's ideas. They're your ideas. And then I think you're gonna have a lot more fun, and I think it's gonna be cathartic to be doing the stuff that scares you. And I can say it actually is cathartic because I've done interviews, I've done podcasts, and it's like I'm not comfortable with that. Afterwards, I'm like completely high.
Oh, absolutely.
It's an amazing feeling. Like to your point,
really
being in
is.
front of 20,000 people, and so doing the stuff you fear is also it's so rewarding. So
it's empowering. It's so empowering. But some people have a heck of a time with it. And
I do.
It is.
I have a heck of a time with it.
Well, I do too, but I just mean some people have like crippling fear of it, and that's a little bit of a different feel, I think, than what I personally suffer through. So, but I do think that there are steps that you can take along the way, and you can kind of say, all right, this one I can take comfortably, and then kind of making these small moves. And then if you get to a point where you say, I just can't comfortably go there right now, that's all right. Take your time. Yeah. But if you let your fear stagnate you, this isn't the business for you. Sorry to say, it's just not. It's not what it used to be. It's not a case of, you send it to somebody, they say, oh, this is fantastic. They take it and you get like $500,000 to write your next book. Unless you're lucky, it's just not. Self-publishing is a lot harder than that. And, again, you could be the lucky one. But if you're like the majority of us, it's a lot of hard work to get to the success level that we've gotten to now, and hopefully we'll get even further as we continue pushing and speaking and and putting ourselves out there. I mean, ultimately, that's what being an author today is really about: is the willingness to put yourself out there. Yeah. That's it.
Well, all right, we should along those lines, just that my challenge is, what idea are you afraid of? Write it down. And to your point, John, maybe write out some steps to get it done.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, cool.
Good one. Good talk, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. And remember, you should be writing.